Okay, hello, hello. If anyone is watching me, can you please let me know in the comments if you can hear us so we can start? We'll just wait for a little while. Yeah, I'll be back. Just 1 second. I'm just trying to make sure that there is no interruption in my background. Okay, 1 sec. Right. Now we will check our audience one more time and see if everybody is there. All right, I'll see the usual watchers, viewers, they're all back. Welcome, Sarah. That's good. So, Sarah, just for your information, today we are live from Facebook, LinkedIn, which is our usual and favorite channel. And today we are going live from YouTube as well. Okay, very good. Brilliant. We'll be just waiting for 2 more minutes and then we will start. Keep saying hello in the comments if you are here so I can see you. Right, so Maureen, just very quickly, I'll just take you through the next stage. So we have around an hour, and usually my questions, I usually keep them to 4 or 5, and then we start taking questions if there are questions from the viewers, and then I read those to you because you won't be able to see them. I'm seeing them on the live feed right now. I'll read those to you, and then we will say bye to everyone. So usually 40 minutes for our chat, and then last 20 minutes or 15 minutes, I usually keep it for the viewers if they have any questions, and that will be the end of it, right? So we will be just starting because I can see people joining in. So just give it like 1 or 2 more minutes, and we will start. And sometimes you won't be able to see me on the screen, not because I'm not here, it's because I'm trying to highlight you just like this. Let me show you how. So now I'm talking, so in a minute on the screen, you'll only see me. And when you are talking for more than 5 seconds, then you'll be able to see only yourself on the screen, that I'm still there. Okay? Just because I want to highlight my guest when you are talking. Okay. Let's just check everyone. Brilliant. Right, welcome everyone. Welcome Zuhar. Zuhar, if that's the name. Zuhar Ahmed. Welcome Kiran. Let's see if other people are here. If you are here already, if you joined the live, please say hello so we know that you're here. Right, let's start everyone. Assalamu alaikum and good evening everyone. Welcome to Unboxed with SG, the space where we strip education down to its raw truths and rebuild. I'm your host, Seher Jilani. Tonight we are diving into a question that outlives policies, curriculum, and even careers. What is the legacy of leadership in education? We keep asking, and sometimes We only find answers within our own practices. But today, I have a very special guest on my podcast. Because let's be honest, degrees fade, job titles expire, but the way we lead, it stays with us through the classrooms, through communities, and generations. Legacy isn't about corner office or the inspection rating. It is about the human beings who leave our schools better prepared, more seen, more alive than when they entered. So tonight, the unbox leadership that lasts. My guest today is someone who has lived and she has created a legacy in leadership at the very heart of education. Miss Maureen Laycock, OBE. Maureen is the former head teacher, where she has transformed a struggling school community with vision and heart. And she'll be able to share, obviously, those examples when she'll be answering some of the questions. She went to lead the specialist schools in academies trusts for performing arts in extended schools, pioneering strategies that raise standards and opportunities for countless young people. She built a nurture base for students, achieved Ofsted recognition for good with outstanding teachers, and has since become a coach and mentor for middle and senior leaders across the UK and beyond. Her OBE is not just a medal, it is proof of a life dedicated to turning leadership into legacy. Good evening, Maureen. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I'm speaking from Sheffield, which is South Yorkshire in the UK, where the weather is okay.
Well, the weather I told you is very hot here in Bahrain, but we are loving it. So, Maureen, without wasting a single minute, because I know the viewers who have come back to watch this episode and the new ones who are joining us right now, they're very keen in listening to you about your experience. So, the very first question is actually the very basic question, I would say. Every legacy starts with a spark. For you, Maureen, what was that moment, or maybe that child that shifted leadership from job into a mission?
Okay, so I never planned to be a head teacher. I was brought up Irish Catholic, passed my 11 plus, but had to go to a convent school taught by Sisters of Charity. I was academic, head girl, told to go to do law, history, or English university, and I rebelled. And I went to Liverpool Art College because my hero, John Lennon, went there. I didn't regret any of that. I started teaching in 1974. I worked in 3 schools, and four schools before I became a head. And I became a deputy at a young age of 33 in a school that needed a lot of change. The head started in January. I was appointed in the April. What was the spark there? It needed a great deal of change in terms of roles and responsibilities. No women had roles or responsibilities. It was all men, some of whom should not have been in front of students. Teaching and learning was poor. Aspirations were on the floor. Behaviour was very bad. And the spark was those kids deserve, and the community deserve, a better deal than what they're getting.
So how did you turn that around?
With a lot of difficulty.
I'm glad you said with a lot of difficulty, because sometimes people think this is a piece of cake and it's very easy.
It was hard. I mean, I had one of the roles was equal opportunities because of the disparity between male and female roles. And I remember observing the head of maths. I was 33, he was 58. And the lesson was dreadful. And in a professional way, I told him it was dreadful. And he said, what did I know? I should be at home looking after my children, who were young at the time. This was 1986. So there were a lot of challenges about changing that school. And we did it very, very successfully in the end. But yes, I had sleepless nights. Could I hack it? We got rid of the head of maths by the end of the year. We did a lot of talent spotting of younger teachers who have, if we supported and nurtured them, were going to grow into leaders. It was hard, and there's no getting away from that. And then the head became ill, and I became acting head. And I thought after 2 years, oh, I've done this here, I might as well go and do it somewhere else. And so I applied for 2 headships. The first I walked away from because I didn't think it was for me. The second one, where I was the head teacher for 17 years, was very inner city, the 6th most deprived political ward in the UK. David Blunkett, who people might know of, the blind politician, was my MP. High unemployment, low aspirations, results were dreadful, behaviour was dreadful, no uniform, no bags, no proper policies or whatever. Sex and drugs and rock and roll was alive and well all the time I was there. Criminality. But those kids had a really bad deal, and they were wonderful, and I'm still in touch with many of them, having retired 12 years ago, and we, over time, got them a better deal.
Wow. So I think that is where I would like to ask you my second question. Legacy leadership isn't polished, as you said, it's messy. What's one uncomfortable truth about leading schools that nobody warns you about, but every future leader must face if they want to leave a mark?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. What is one uncomfortable truth about leading schools that no one warns you about before you are becoming a leader?
To become a strong and effective leader of a school or any industry, I would say, you have to have a clear vision. This is what we've got. You need to have a vision of where you want to be, right? And you have to share that vision, and you have to be brave. And it is uncomfortable when you're beginning on that road, on that journey. And you have to be open, you have to be transparent, but you have to also have the resilience and the bravery to keep on that journey, and but importantly, to bring people with you, to grow. That's what I was about, to grow leaders.
Absolutely.
You can't lead with force and expect excellence. You can't do that. It's about helping others to shine, whatever that environment might be, and however tough that might be, and whatever horrible experiences you might have. And I had some horrible ones, because I removed staff. I was taken to 2 industrial tribunals for constructive dismissal. We won them. I had a member of staff in a senior position who was absolutely resistant to everything I tried to do. To my face, was nice, behind my back undermined me, wrote a threatening letter to governors and city council members about me and the way I was leading, all of which was investigated, and it was fine. But there were times on that very difficult first few years where I woke up in the night at 4 a.m. thinking, can I do this?
Yeah, I understand that. So what is, usually we measure leadership with numbers. We look at grades, we look at inspection results, but legacies are measured in people. Can you share one story of a teacher or parent? I'm taking students out of this equation right now. We might come back to it later on. But can you share one story of a teacher or a parent whose life changed because of leadership choices you made?
Yeah, well, I have 90. I had a school of 1,500 students, 90 teachers, admin, support staff, catering, etc., etc. So about 200, and we were a performing arts school, a specialist school. I'm an absolute believer in the arts in terms of being an entitlement to human life. But I did talent spot, and we would take students in on PGCE, and if they did all right there, if they could teach at my school, they could teach anywhere, because it was tough, right? Very tough. I mean, of my 1,500 students, only 2 parents had ever been to university. There was high unemployment, right?
Right.
So we appointed lots of newly qualified teachers. We helped them, we sent them on courses, we did a lot of support. And during the time I was there, of the people I appointed as newly qualified teachers or middle leaders or senior leaders, 8 went on to become head teachers. Now that's quite a high number, I'm told.
It is.
And they would say to me that it was because I helped them to believe in themselves.
Wow.
And one of them is now a national leader in London who did not believe in herself at all to begin with, and cried in my office in her first term. She was going to give it all up because, it was tough. And I said, no, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. We're going to help. You can talk to me or anybody on the leadership team at any time. Come into my office and swear if you want to. We'll pick you up. We'll sort you out. And she's flying.
Wow. Maureen, this is something that I have seen frequently, that when, we're looking at leaders to build their teams and to build people into leader, to transform people into leaders, they are always scared and there are some insecurities in the field of education. I can understand if this is a corporate leader worrying about losing their job or losing their position to somebody who is not a leader at the moment, but if they help and they become a leader, this will have a negative impact on their career growth. But do you feel that this is the same in education field as well? It isn't, shouldn't it be different in education field, because education is all about building others. You're building your students, you are nurturing your students, but at the same time you're nurturing your teams as well. Why is it so hard for leaders to build more leaders when they are paving the way?
I don't think it is hard, actually, but I think you've got to be a risk taker, right? And I've had many, many successes in that respect, but I've also had disappointments and failures, right? But I think if you are clear what your vision is, right? Nobody in that school when I went there had a history of going to university. Parents would say, if there were a parent of a boy and I said, your son is very bright, he's capable of university, I would get the feedback of, well, he might be better getting a job and having money in his pocket. That's my phone. I'm going to ignore it. Sorry. And if it was a girl, I'd often get, oh, well, she'll soon have babies and get married. And it was in that order, right? So we had to turn a community around, which is why we did a lot of work with parents as well, right? That was very, very important. So I took risks. I did take risks. But what was solid about what I did and the people I appointed as senior leaders and middle leaders, we had a vision for that school. We were going to be an aspirant school. Ofsted did give us good with outstanding in the end, but that didn't matter to me. It was what that felt like in the school in the morning. And I would say, I read somewhere that the mood of the head teacher affects the rest of the school for the rest of the day.
Oh, that is so true.
I would say, we go in there, no matter what's going on, we smile, we say, hello everybody, have you had a good weekend? Did Sheffield Wednesday win on Saturday? Never mind, they might win this weekend. How's your brother doing? And it was about lifting that aspiration and taking risks. And I did take a lot of risks. And there were times when people who were more senior to me in the local authority and whatever tried to smack my hands. But, I'm sorry, those kids deserved what we were giving them and where we were going. And in the end, we got there.
Very well. Maureen, you mentioned in your previous answer, you said you did have to take some of the hardest decisions, including terminating teachers. And I understand because I have seen certain similar situations as well. Apart from that, because that I can understand completely, I've gone through that as well. Apart from that, is there a, a decision that you still consider the hardest decision that you had to take during your leadership to push the school forward?
Yes, we had an Ofsted in 2008, and we had a team team that came in, and the lead inspector had worked in further education. So she'd never worked in a secondary school, and it was her first lead. And she was dressed beautifully in Jaeger clothing and drips of gold, bracelets and whatever. And in the morning, when we met with the chair of governors, I said, I don't want my newly qualified teachers to be observed. They get observed enough. That was my right. I don't want my students on practice to be observed because they get enough, and one of them we're failing anyway. I don't want my head of RE to be observed because she's just had to put her Down syndrome sister into a home in Wales because her mother died. And I don't want a history teacher to be observed because she's just back from a stillbirth 6 weeks ago. That was agreed to. These inspectors went out and observed all of those people, right? I stood in an assembly with her in year 9. I did an assembly, and she said, "Oh, they're very small here, aren't they?" We were the first school to get a breakfast club. Our kids weren't fed well, and I said, "I'm responsible for their education, not their diet." Anyway, the whole thing was a nightmare, and it was unprofessional. And when we got the feedback, most of my staff stayed in school for the feedback with the governors, and I went down to the staff room. It didn't give us a category, right? Because it was actually, they gave us outstanding in the arts, they gave us good with leadership, whatever and whatever. The results weren't brilliant, right? But I felt it was an unfair Ofsted. So I went to the staff afterwards, which is about 6 o'clock on a Friday night, and I don't know how I held it together, but I said, we're not going to take this, right? And I got feedback from every member of staff, written feedback about their experience, etc. The chair of governors gave my deputy some money to take the staff that wants to go to the pub. I went home. My husband had gone to see his mum in Ilkley, who wasn't very well. I was supposed to be on a course. I went home and I had a good cry and several glasses of wine, and then I decided I was going to fight it. And it took us 9 months to fight
Recording in progress.
And it took us 9 months to fight it. And in the end, Christine Gilbert, who headed up the Ofsted at the time, phoned me up and said, I agree with you. It was a technically flawed and unprofessional Ofsted. What do you want? And I said, I want another Ofsted. She said, are your staff with you? I said, yes, they are. And we got another Ofsted 6 months later when we got good outstanding. So we were the second only school in the country to overturn an Ofsted.
Wow. And this all could happen because you had to take that call of informing them that you weren't happy with it. Because we have seen schools who will not even, share their feedback with the inspection authorities. They will just accept whatever the inspection authorities are informing them about. And sometimes the schools are actually, performing really, really well, and the inspection team, not necessarily all the time the inspection team that comes into the school is capable of looking at those progresses or those measures that have been taken. We have experienced it, and from what you are saying, it looks like it's not very different in UK either. So was it the team? Were these the circumstances? Where are you placing this entire?
In terms of that team, was a team of 5, right? One of them, who was responsible for data, called me love, which I did not appreciate. B, didn't understand capped and uncapped points, so he wasn't very bright. C, there was another man who was an inspector who saw the same teacher 3 times in one day, and he denied it. And he was an NQT, the teacher. So I got the teacher in, Richard, who was a science teacher. I said, you've seen this man in registration, you've seen him teach science, and you've seen him teach PHSE. Oh, yes, I have. I forgot that was the same day. They actually were poor inspectors, right? And I think every country, whatever your process for inspecting, will have folk who aren't very good, and they were awful. So when I said to Christine Gilbert, who headed up Ofsted, what did I want? I said, I want an experienced Ofsted team who understand inner city education, right? We are not a private school. We are a very difficult circumstances. We are doing everything we can to put them on the right path so they can have better lives. And we want people in who are going to understand that. And that's what we got.
Absolutely. Maureen, there are people watching right now, and some of them I know already that they are preparing to become principals, or they are already principals, or new principals. What is your advice, one advice that you think is crucial for them at the beginning of their journey as a leader?
Great question. There's a book out here called The First 100 Days of Headship. I don't know if you've seen it. And in the book, the question is, what do I do in my first 100 days? And
Mm.
the answer is, you do nothing. You go round the school, you go into classrooms, you talk to parents, students, staff.
Mm.
And that book wasn't out when I started my headship, right? But what I did do, because we were also a split site, so the children were bussed up and down the road. It was a nightmare. I interviewed every member of staff for 20 minutes. Who are you? How long have you been here? What's your roles and responsibilities? What did you think of the Ofsted report? Which was very bad. And so, what three things would you do if you were the head teacher in the first year? And I noted everything that was said. It took me half a term. And then I fed back to them what my insights were. Now, when I started talking about aspirations to these people on a one-to-one basis, some people who'd been there a long time said, oh no, you're lucky if they come to school in an area like this. I wouldn't push them too hard, etc. And so I had to overcome that, but I got very detailed feedback from those teachers, right? So my first half term was getting that understanding of where the school was from every single teacher, and then working out the vision and sharing that and the map of where we're going to. And from there, it was, lots of policies had to change, obviously. The behaviour policy, uniform, doing homework, didn't do any homework. After school stuff, getting parents on board, that was hard. But you have to work your map out, your journey, but then break it down into chunks that you believe you can, at a certain point after half a term or a term, tick the box and say, well, we're nearly there with that one. It's about working out your route map, keeping everybody with you, keeping your smile on your face no matter how hard it is, and bit by bit it comes together.
Thank you, Maureen. I'm sure that all the principals, leaders, new leaders, the soon to be leaders, they will appreciate this advice, obviously, because when they start, things are so crazy and the journey is not letting them breathe because the challenges are so new. So they usually lose this, uh, you know I know it could be hard on different days, like you are dealing with a very difficult situation as a leader in your school, and you are a new leader, and obviously there is no other support that you can rely on. So it's hard to smile. But as Maureen said, I believe all the viewers are listening right now. It does make a difference when you maintain your smile, and when you put that brave face up and you walk around the school and you look at everything is going smooth. It will make a difference. Your team will look up to you. So this is very, very important, I guess. Thank you. This comes from heart, I guess. Maureen, I have another question, just out of curiosity, and because people in Bahrain or in Riyadh, in KSA, or UAE, or in Pakistan, wherever our viewers are from, they do not understand the award that you've been given, being awarded an OBE. I am aware, I'm familiar with it. Being awarded an OBE is a huge, huge honor. But legacy isn't built on medals, it's built in moments. How do you balance the weight of recognition with staying grounded in the everyday realities of school leadership?
I didn't set out to get an OBE. I was a national leader in the end, and I did do some work supporting other schools, right? I was in New Zealand in a camper van with my husband when I heard I got an OBE, right? I was very pleased, not just for myself, but for my community,
Mm.
because that gave them some pride as well,
Absolutely.
right? My entire community was all council housing, social housing. There was no private housing, right? But it was also, I could have taken my two sons to get the OBE, and it was Prince Charles, who's now King Charles, who gave it to me. But they had plenty of opportunities in their lives. So I took two students. I took a girl who was an asylum seeker in year 10, who was very clever, whose dad was killed in an African factory in Central Africa. Mother came over here with her daughter Funto and her son Jude, who were then 4 and 2, and worked as a carer with a poor salary, but a great mum. And another boy, Daniel, whose older sibling did go to university because I persuaded the parents he had the ability of so doing, and so did his sister, and so did his brother. And I was very fond of that family. I took them down there, and we took them on the train. We paid for their meal. They watched me get the OBE. They were in Buckingham Palace. Blah blah blah. And we went home. Um, Funto is now a paediatrician in a hospital in Glasgow, and Daniel is a senior lawyer in Leeds. Now, both of those students started from a very poor background, right? So the OBE, well, we had a lovely day. We were treated really well. I was pleased to get it. I never thought I'd get that, right? And it's helped me do the other things I'm doing since consultancy and doing my coaching work. But my passion was for the school. It would never have been to achieve an OBE.
Mm. Well, obviously, you were true to your cause, you were working hard, and people were noticing it. So it is well deserved, it is very well earned. This is how I see it. It's a huge, huge honor. And, but sometimes it does happen. We've seen people who do receive honors, and then their leadership style actually changes because now they're the celebrity leaders. So it's a good confirmation to listening to you and how you are defining your journey even after getting it.
I think what I would say is, and what people said about me, I have good people skills. I like people. I like to see the good in people. And when I went to the school, I said to staff, right, okay, we're starting from a difficult base, but we're going to get there. I want everyone to know at least one positive thing about every child in this school that they teach, whatever their circumstances, whatever their abilities, so that we can have positive conversations on corridors, right? It's being positive, it's being enthusiastic. Over here, we call checking on things learning walks. I don't know what happens in Bahrain or anywhere.
No, it's the same thing, learning walks.
Yeah, so yep. I used to go round the school twice a day, and my leadership team once a day, checking on how things were going. I wasn't inspecting, I was popping into rooms, chatting to kids. Oh, this is a nice lesson, Miss. Oh, yeah, what are you doing today? And, just reinforcing the fact that we were a team. We listened to students. I don't know what pupil or student voice is like with you, but I used to regularly meet with student voice, and how's it going? Where are your best lessons? I actually have got children to present to staff. What is the best lesson? What is a good lesson in this school? And not surprisingly, they talked about active teaching and learning, teachers being fair and firm, having humour, having warmth, having aspiration, encouragement, etc. And I also see towards the end of my career, I had a very young staff, right? I got rid of dead wood. I had to. And the kids led an inset day on what makes good teaching and learning in this school, and it was amazing.
Wow. I also have one more question, which is obviously connected to what we were talking about. Legacy often demands disruption, challenging traditions, policies, even people in power. Looking back, where did you find the courage to disrupt?
Well, fundamentally, those children in that community deserved a much better experience in education than they'd had before. They deserved to have the best teachers in front of them that we could possibly appoint and grow and support and develop, etc. That was my fundamental vision. But also, even when it did get hard, I know from the I had 3 leaving dues. I thought I just had 1, but the staff organised, I had 3, including an amazing evening at Sheffield University where we gave out Oscars, and it was a black tie, formal dress occasion, and every person in Sheffield who had some notoriety came to that and helped with that. It was a phenomenal evening. And so it was keeping my staff with me as well. And one of the things I did, which I just did once and it went down so well, at the end of every term, I'd have a meeting with staff at the end of the day. The children might have gone at lunchtime, and then we'd have a bit of a buffet, and I'd celebrate with staff. I used to give out awards and posters and have silly stories and make people laugh and tell them what a great team they were. And we finished up with, I'd ask them to stand in a circle, right? This is teachers and TAs, teaching assistants, stand in a circle in the hall or the dining hall. And we had a group hug the person on either side of you, right? If you're not comfortable with being touched or your religion doesn't want you to do that, sit down. Nobody sat down. They loved their group hugs, right?
Thank you, Maureen. This is I believe to watch this kind of moment would be the cutest thing, because I know students or even teachers, when the leader is providing that kind of open environment, people are always appreciating it and they're getting strength out of it. I do remember a girl who was very, not because of she was coming from a certain background or religion, but because of her, um, some people are painfully shy and they don't usually offer physical touch or physical hug, or even a handshake was very difficult for her. But every single day I went to her and I said good morning to her and how are you and what did you do last night. It was very hard to actually even open her up. But then after 3 months, I fell sick and I was out of school for about a week. And when I came back, she was the first one running to me and giving me a hug. And I still cannot forget about that moment. It was such a sweet and special moment for me. Not that I wasn't hugged by the students before, but that was a very special hug. So I completely can relate to what you are saying here. Maureen, am I allowed to ask just one personal question, which is not too personal, but really I'm a bit more curious, but you can say no once you hear the question. If you don't want to answer, that's absolutely fine. Shall I go ahead and ask?
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. So behind every powerful leader, powerful legacy, there's often a personal cost, long nights, tough sacrifices, or moments of doubts, and sometimes cost opportunity. So basically, you know prioritizing your work um, targets over your family nights or family events, which are very, very important. What personal price did you pay to lead the way you did? And was it worth it?
It was undoubtedly worth it. Undoubtedly, I still have warm feelings and great memories of my time there. I'm still in touch with a lot of staff, and I'm still in touch with many students. I was a workaholic, right? I was a workaholic. In 17 years of being a head, I never had a Sunday off. I worked every Sunday, plus evenings, etc. The only day off I took was a Saturday. I was in school in holidays. We did interventions. We did workshops for parents. We did all manner of stuff, right? I had 2 sons and a lovely husband who was also a head teacher. And then somehow, as a family, we stayed together and they were successful. We did give ourselves quality time. That is important, right, to carve out. But when I left and I retired a year early, at age because of Mr. Gove bringing in the EBAC, right, and putting the arts into box 8 because they weren't important in his mind. That was enough for me. So my husband and I went travelling, but if I'm entirely honest, when I came back, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was because I'd done it for so long, and it was my life. And I had a bit of a breakdown. I had to have counselling. I took happy pills for 6 months, and then I thought, well, come on, get over it. And then I went into, well, first of all, I did quite a bit of consultancy, locally, regionally, and then nationally by word of mouth. I did Ofsted training, but after a while I thought I'd rather stick pins in my eyes than join the dark side forever. So I started being a leader, a sort of leadership coach, and I've been doing that now very successfully, and I love it for 12 years.
Well, I can completely see how much those leaders are loving getting that coaching and first-hand advice and, all that experience and wisdom from you. I can vouch for that. Like, as we are talking and you are opening up to me and you're discussing all those issues and you're very unapologetic about, yes, there are issues and there are problems. So what? Keep your chin up and smile and just take it on. You'll be able to survive. I think this is the kind of courage that people need to see and they need to witness and they need to get it. So I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing right now in terms of coaching and training new leaders. I have to remind all the viewers that since you are here and Maureen is here, it will be a shame if you were not asking questions, because she's here and she's happy to share whatever answers, whatever questions you want to ask. Please do ask. If there is a challenge that we haven't covered in our questions, although I tried my best to cover all aspects of leadership challenges, but if I didn't, please, the floor is yours. And I'm looking at the comments right now. If you did ask a question, if I missed it, just say it again. And I believe I did not miss anything, but I'm just going back again, looking at your comments. And thank you so much for all those lovely comments. If there is a question, we're opening the forum for you now, okay? Please type the questions. Maureen, I have one more question before we can start taking, and people can start writing their questions in the chat box while we are exploring this one. So great leadership doesn't stop at the school gates, obviously. How do you see the role of an educational leader in shaping the wider community and even influencing society beyond education?
I think education at its best, and having an effective education and an aspirant education, has to not just be around teachers and students, must be around parents and grandparents and the community. And you have to embrace that community. And we really needed to. So we had to get parents into the school. Many of our parents had been to the school and had very negative experiences there in the past. So to get them to believe in the school, we had to open things up, not just in traditional parents' evenings, which, by the way, we got rid of, apart from year 9 and 11. So we had days, right, twice a year where we closed the school, but a parent would come in between 8:30 and 5 to see the form tutor with the child and their data and their progress. So it wasn't as daunting as having to see 10 teachers to be told your child's not very clever or not doing very much. It had to have a positive. We opened the school up for community days where we had family learning days where we started off with yoga, dads and lads football, nails being done, hair, whatever, getting parents across the school gates, right? We then progressed to them doing some GCSEs and their own learning and A-levels. And indeed, by the time I left, 4 parents who'd left the school with nothing had gone on to university. So it's about bringing your community with you as well. And it's not just the parents. I went out to the shopkeepers I told my children they would be polite in all of the shops, whether it's school time or not school time, and I would find out if they hadn't been. And I linked with GPs and with all community members to get everybody to be on the same page and to believe in what the school was trying to do.
I am just reading a question. Well, I think I should just ask it anyway. So basically, the question here is that sometimes the new leaders feel that they are not paid very well, and that takes that more. Sometimes it does take, not all the time, but they're saying that the salary doesn't match with the efforts that they're in fact making in order to bring the school to a highest quality school. So they're asking you, um, do you think that the principals or the community of leaders should come together to talk about the salary? Because that is an important factor in motivation. And they feel that,
About the salary.
yes, that they think that they're not very well paid, the new leaders.
Well, I didn't go into teaching for the salary, right? I didn't go into headship for the salary. I got an incremental point each year. I went up each year in terms of salary. There were 2 or 3 years where I was offered two, and I said no. If my staff are getting one, I'm getting one if I deserve it, right? I never went into education to become rich, and I'm not rich, right? But I did it because I wanted to help young people to have successful lives. So money was never a factor for me.
So I'm very sure that it is not a factor for other people as well. But I think when some of the people are, because I know this person who just asked this question, and I also know that in order to run the school with success and making sure that all attention is given and there is undivided attention, even though the salary was not too good, they had to actually do two jobs, one which is obviously as a leader in the school, and the other one, I think there was a part-time job as well that they were doing. So I think that's why they're saying it, because when you are doing two jobs, it is very hard to stay focused on what you really absolutely love to do. And maybe there are some, I'm just talking to this person here, and I believe they understand that if you do have those responsibilities that you cannot ignore, and you have to pay for those responsibilities, then obviously you will find another way of doing it. But if leadership and school leadership and educational leadership is what you feel is your calling, then that's the way for you, to be honest.
Yeah, but what I would say, we have a Labour government in this country now, and always been a Labour Party member. I don't think they're doing terribly well, but the Conservative government did absolutely dreadfully. I actually think in this country, and I can only talk about the UK, unless we have top quality education and NHS, we have nothing. And it does annoy me hugely that people who are in business and industry and earn huge amounts of money for not changing people's lives for the better is entirely wrong and morally wrong. But that's what we've got, and that's what many countries have got.
So we may have to look into the contract that you have. Maybe you should just go and discuss it with your HR. Perhaps there will be a way out for you, but do not just lose motivation. I can understand, we all understand that we all have different kind of responsibilities, but that shouldn't take you away from what you absolutely love to do. Yeah. Okay, so Kiran is asking a question here. She's saying, from your journey in education um, and art, what do you think schools should nurture most in young people?
That's a lovely question. I've got 5 grandchildren, and I have a 5-year-old granddaughter who is the first girl in my family in 65 years, right? And when I watch my grandchildren grow and how they instinctively play, investigate, research, try things out, that's a beautiful thing to observe, right? And they're living here in Sheffield, so I see them regularly. And when you go to school, in this country, right from the beginning, teachers are measured on what they're doing, how well those children are doing in their phonics, in their number, and whatever. And the arts is very important to me, and I'm still a practicing artist now. But somehow schools can, because of the process we go through, you can almost knock it out of them, right?
Correct.
Because you become so data focused, right? I mean, I was told at school I was useless at maths, so I believed that, and until I did a second degree, and I did a second degree, and we were doing, I don't know, can't remember what it was. And I said, I'm no good at maths, and this guy sat me down in his lecture and said, I'm sure you're statistics, and I'm okay at maths, right? It's not my strength, right? And then I did a master's, and I'm now a qualified level 5 leadership coach. So I believe in lifelong learning. I think education should be about encouraging those youngsters always to believe in themselves. Nobody's got the right to say you're no good at this, right?
I completely agree.
They've got the right to say we're going to help you, progress a bit further with this. As for the arts, I think the arts is absolutely an entitlement to human life. Music, drama, dance, theatre, all of those things should be integral to every single school. And for emotional connection in particular, those things are so much more helpful, aren't they?
Absolutely. And, with all of the schools running after all this technology, that they don't even sometimes strategize, they don't even know how this technology is in fact delivering those goals for students emotional well-being. They're just running in this race, and this is very upsetting for some of the educators, and in fact it should upset all the educators, that there is no strategy behind technology integration. In fact, there is no integration, it's just technology, and then there is the entire program. So, and now with AI, I think this is in fact even more happening even more frequently, where people are running behind AI. AI is offering only one isolated solution for something, and then people are claiming that this is the whole approach of their school, which in fact is not correct. So people are no longer talking about school ethos, they're not talking about emotional well-being, they're not talking about relationship building, they're not even talking about decision making, which I spoke at another forum that it's a very, very important skill. People are not talking about it, and they're just running behind these technology-based tools, not integrated, AI not integrated, just answering one question, and they're just running behind it. What is your take on it? How do you see what needs to be done to make people take a pause, first of all, like, wait, why are you running? Technology is not going anywhere.
The whole thing about AI terrifies me, really. And I do think there's been when I started teaching in 1974 in an inner city school in Bradford, right, with the raising of the school leaving age only starting the previous year, where I thought the students would love me and we'd make beautiful pictures together. And it was a tough school. And they told me, I'm sorry, I'm going to use bad language now, they told me to F off. And they talked about their sex lives, which was far more prolific than mine was, because I was trying desperately to be a teacher. And I was going to give it up at the end of the first term, right? I got the message. I mean, the head told me I was too nice and I shouldn't smile till Christmas. That was the only advice I got. But I got there in the end. But during the first few years I was teaching, there was no Ofsted. There was no focus on accountability. There was a focus on having a good feel and a good culture and ethos, which I believe in, and I've always believed in. But it wasn't mechanistic in any way, right? And then in the 80s, all of that changed. And I think now we are so mechanistic in what we think education is about. In year 1, you should get to this level. In year 2, you've got to do this. By the time you get to year 11, you've got to have got grades 7, 8, and 9 to be able to do A levels. You then go on to university. I don't think everybody needs to go to university. My hairdresser never went to university. If I didn't see her every 5 weeks, I'd lose the will to live, frankly.
Correct.
I think vocational courses and apprenticeships are equally important, and schools should be nurturing that. But I think in this country, I think the national curriculum should be ripped up and put in the bin. And then they should think, what is education about? What is it for? How does it link? Because I explored that, linking subjects. Why is biology, when you're looking at the human body, not linked with PE when you're using the human
Correct,
body?
absolutely.
So what are the links, right? You come out of a primary school with a lovely teacher you've seen every day, 5 days a week. You go into a secondary school, which is huge. You start off with English, then you go to maths, then you go to science, then you do PE, then you do art, and there's no connectivity. So rip it all up. Let's look at connectivity. Let's look at creativity. There was a guy in this country, and I'll mention him, and if people want to look him up, please do so. I've heard him speak, and I've seen him and met him. Well, I'll speak of two of them, actually. But he was called Ken Robinson.
Oh, yes, I'm a big fan. Big fan. Yep.
And the other one was Sir Tim Brickhouse. They were amazing educationalists and visionists. And I met them. I was lucky enough to meet them, right, on several occasions. Ken Robinson put creativity and the arts at the heart of education, right? And I would say also, absolutely important is around the ethos and culture. What does it feel like to be in this school? Does it feel like a happy school? Are people talking to one another? Staff and kids talking, smiling, helping one another, opening doors for one another? What's the emotional intelligence of this school? And I'm going to say something controversial here now. Most of the best head teachers that I've met in my life and since I've been doing leadership coaching are women. Emotional intelligence and relationships, right, are pivotal. You can't be a decent ed teacher if you're shut behind a door that says engaged.
Correct. Thank you, Maureen. I have one last question that I'm taking because our time's almost up. What strategies can school leaders use to build trust, communication, and empower their staff members to take ownership of their work, ultimately creating a positive and productive school culture? Thank you, Rafia, for asking such a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, that is down to the vision of the head teacher, sharing his or her vision with the leadership team, with the middle leaders, with all staff. It's about reinforcing that on a regular basis through briefing meetings. We had briefing meetings early morning at 8:30, just for 10 minutes. But I used to say to my leadership team, and anybody else could speak, but we want them to go out with a smile on their face. So let's tell them something that's going to make them smile that happened yesterday or last week or whatever. It's about open communications. It's about being transparent. It's about having regular communications, regular meetings. It's about good line management meetings, so the middle leaders know when they're being line managed that they are accountable to that vision, to that drive, to that journey, and their staff likewise. It's about trust. It's also about accepting and saying when you've made a mistake. I've made mistakes, right? I have actually apologized to my staff for making a mistake several times. Because if you don't make a mistake, you learn nothing, do you?
Absolutely.
But I have met people who can't and never have made mistakes.
Is that true? Of course, everybody makes mistakes, but I think
some people don't like admitting it.
Yeah, I know, and this is funny because we all know that everybody does make mistakes, but I think the best leader is who is setting an example of coming forward and taking responsibility of making mistakes. So the teachers and the staff can work in a culture that is built on trust. Thank you so much, Maureen, and thank you all the viewers for joining us today. It was a beautiful conversation that you witnessed and I had with Maureen. I'm very lucky to to get to introduce to her, and we had this podcast today. Legacy leadership is not a title, it's a ripple. It's every child who dares to dream bigger because you believed in them. It's every teacher who stands taller because you lifted them. It's every community that breathes easier because you cared enough to lead differently. And Maureen is one of those leaders who was sitting with us today and sharing her experience and her wisdom unapologetically, because there were statements that could be controversial. And you might feel that, oh, if I said that in my school, I would lose my job. And probably you would. So be careful. But it's not about how you say it, it's about what your journey is like. Are you standing for the right? Are you really working towards what is going to have an impact on children and your students? Are you changing their lives? Are you changing their parents' lives? Are you transforming community directly or indirectly? I think that's the question you should ask yourself as a leader. So thank you so much, Maureen, for keeping the conversation so simple that we could see ourselves living in those examples that you quoted, or advice that you gave. We could see, oh yeah, that's very easy, that's not difficult at all. So who made the leadership look like so difficult? It actually isn't that complicated. There will be difficult situations to handle, but leadership is obviously not difficult. And you saw what Maureen said as her, for her OBE as well, the title that she has got, the medal that she has received, rightfully so, for all her hard work and her passion and her commitment. You would certainly be there one day where you will be able to get, in whatever country you are, you'll be able to get that, uh, you know, um, highest rank or highest acknowledgement. And sometimes there are heroes who never get that acknowledgement, but they still transformed communities. And we all know them because we were there when this was happening. So don't give up, stay there. You are a strong leader. And all you need to do is just build a good team, because that's very, very important for you to turn it into a legacy. Here is my challenge to you. Don't wait to build your legacy. You are writing it right now, with every choice, every conversation, every yes and every no. And if you felt tonight's conversation tug at your soul, then I want you with us every Tuesday night, where we keep disrupting the safe, shallow narratives of education and replace them with leadership that actually matters. Call to action. This is what I want you to do. Please share this podcast with others who you think will need it. They need to hear this conversation, and they need to experience how easy it is to become a leader. But the difficulty is in the decisions they are going to take, and they got to be ready for taking those decisions. And every decision needs to make an impact towards the community and to the child's progress. This is Unboxed with SG. Tag someone who needs to hear it. And most importantly, start building a legacy that refuses to be forgotten. Thank you so much. Good night.